Back with us on the 3-hour news show, we have more updates from Indonesia this time. The Indonesian Religious Affairs Ministry has set the quota for this year's Hajj pilgrimage.
Now, under the ruling, 151,000 Indonesian pilgrims can depart for the Holy Land. The allocation is a follow-up to Saudi Arabia's Hajj Quota ruling. 92,825 regular and 7,226 special seats are available.
For the regular allocation, 92,246 seats are for pilgrims, 114 are for guides, and the rest are for regional officials. Meanwhile, 6,664 of these special seats are for pilgrims, and the rest are for officials. The seats are available only to pilgrims no older than 65 who have paid for the 2020 pilgrimage. Well, and for a better understanding of the Hajj quota and preparations, we are now connected with the Hajj and Umrah Director General at the Indonesian Religious Affairs Ministry, Mr. Hilman Latief. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now, Pak Hilman, Indonesia has already set the Hajj quota for 2022 based on the Saudi government's allotment. How do you allocate the quota among provinces now?
Okay, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, recently we have received a good news from Saudi Arabia that Indonesia can send pilgrims for the upcoming Hajj event 2022 or 1448 Hijriah. The Saudi government provide Indonesian pilgrims with 100,051 allocation for the upcoming Hajj. And indeed, we are glad with these numbers because now we are still during the pandemic, which means that we have limits how to organize people. Mm-hmm. And from 1 million people, which had to be allowed perform pilgrims. Indonesia is the largest country that has allowed to send a delegation for the upcoming pilgrims. With these numbers, we have distributed to some regions in Indonesia, some provinces, and the Ministry of Religious Affairs at the provincial levels now starting verifying the profiles of the pilgrims, whether they are eligible to depart this year. First of all, they have to pay the tuitions or the cost for the pilgrimage this year. And then for those who have not paid or have not, paid the cost for the pilgrimage.
Hello? Mr. Latief, can you
Hilman?
still hear us? Apparently we have a bit of technical problem over there. But yeah, 100,051. That's for Indonesia at the moment.
Yep. And we have 1 million people lining up to fly.
Exactly. And also one thing that I've been wondering is how is actually the Department of Religious Affairs is actually putting on the quotas in each provinces. So apparently we got reconnected with Mr. Latief.
Yeah,
all right.
I've been connected.
So, Mr. Latief, because you got cut off when you were talking about the
Selection criteria.
Selection criteria. So what I want to ask is, since we have the quota of 100,051, how is actually the allocation for each provinces? Because we know that West Java got the most of it, got the most piece of cake. But on the other hand, other provinces like in South Sulawesi, they have to wait for even longer. Can you explain to us how is actually the allocation for each provinces? is happening?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to inform you that we have a digital system. So how to ensure the queue for the Indonesian pilgrims. The system is called Cisco Hub. In the Cisco Hub, we can see the profile of pilgrims starting from the years or even the day they sign up for a pilgrimage until the current one.
Yeah.
Because the allocation for this year is very limited, and Indonesian pilgrim can is only provide for 45%, which are allowed to perform Hajj this year.
Yeah.
So we have to cut off the number of pilgrims, 45% from the 2022.
I see.
Whose departure should be postponed because of the pandemic. So in 2022, we have more than about 220 quota for Indonesian pilgrims. And for this year, we use the same data, and we cut off first come first serve
I see.
for the pilgrims for this year.
I
So
see.
from that data, then we distribute to provincial offices of the Ministry of Religious Affairs to be measured and to be examined whether those people who are appointed or who are allowed or who are able to depart this year, whether or not they are eligible to do so, financially or even some other factors such as health issue and so on and so on.
Now that you mentioned financially, I remember the recent decision the government and Commission 8 of the House of Representatives has set the Hajj cost at 39.2 million rupiah per pilgrim, which is up 4.8 million from the figure in
that's an
2020.
escalation over there.
That's right. So what factors influence this change? And also the question is, speaking of finances, will these pilgrims have to pay the remaining balance if they have already paid fully in 2020?
Okay. Actually, the amounts of all the costs, the total cost of one pilgrim is amounting to 81 million rupiah. 81 million rupiah. And the pilgrim should only pay about 39 million rupiah. And the remaining costs will be paid by the government or by BPKH, a board of Hajj Fund. Okay?
Yeah.
And as I informed before, that in 2020, about 180,000 pilgrims already paid, the cost for Hajj. But some of them are also withdraw their money from BPK because the cancellations of the departures.
Yeah.
Due to this, there are two types of pilgrims. The first pilgrims, those who already paid completely the costs for Hajj, and those who withdraw some of the money because of the cancellation. Because of this, for this year, we just would like to inform our people in Indonesia, for those who already paid, in 2020, they are not required to give more money for the pilgrims. So because BPKH already paid for them. However, for those who withdraw their money partially in 2020, because after the cancellations of the departure, right now they should pay for the whole cost, which is amounting to 39 million.
I see. That clarifies the situation, actually.
Yeah, but now that you mention people about the allocation, about first come first serve, and those other systems that you have in the Ministry of Religious Affairs, let's say one person wants to submit themselves for the pilgrimage. How many years should new Hajj registrant wait for more slots?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of questions from Indonesian society regarding the long queue of Hajj in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Right now, indeed, we realize that a lot of people who are interested in performing pilgrimage to Mecca or to Saudi Arabia, and at the same time, in the past 10 years, we have witnessed the better conditions, better improvement in the economy of our society. And therefore, they are eligible to pay for the pilgrimage. And right now, there are unprecedented developments of the numbers of pilgrims in Indonesia, which is now about 5.2 million pilgrims are on the waiting list. Okay, and some regions like Java, the pilgrim should wait for about 30 years before departure.
Wow, 30 years.
Even in Sulawesi, there are some regions where people should wait about 45 or 43 years before they depart for pilgrimage. So this is interesting with this, and therefore the Ministry of Religious Affairs is still looking for a formula on how to overcome these situations, because we are afraid that in the upcoming years people should wait until 50 years for...
Like Malaysia right now.
Yeah, like Malaysia. Malaysia now, they're waiting for 50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, and I heard in Malaysia, people should wait 140 years. So, and therefore we have to mitigate in the Indonesian context how to resolve this problem.
Yeah.
How to create new regulation which prevents, the numbers of
The waiting
pilgrims
period.
without contracts.
Yeah.
Okay, because otherwise the queue will be longer and longer.
That's also
every
true.
year.
It's already a long queue, and the pandemic happened and it backtracked some more even, and now there's only smaller quota because we're only recovering. So it's very interesting times. But Pak Hilman, just one last question from us. How is the Indonesian government finally preparing for pilgrims to be able to fly up to the Holy Land? Accommodations and transportations, of course, included in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Since 2 months ago, we have sent our teams to Saudi Arabia to communicate with the potential partners, to observe the situation there, to see, to investigate the conditions of the hotel, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So since 2 months ago, our teams has been working there to prepare the transportations, accommodations, as well as consumption for the pilgrimage. Now we are on the stage of making negotiations with our partner there. After the Saudi government announced officially the numbers of the pilgrims or quota for Indonesia. So we now intensifying our communication with our partners, both in Saudi as well as in Indonesia. And again, we intensify our communication with the Ministry of Health in Indonesia, because the pilgrimage right now or this year is not simply ordinary pilgrimage. Okay? This is a unique and special pilgrimage where healthcare issues become increasingly dominant in our discourse, in
That's
our,
right.
Our protocol. Because those pilgrims who are going to depart for pilgrimage this year should comply with the health requirements from the Saudi Arabia. They should be free from COVID-19, proved by PCR tests 72 hours before departure. Okay, they should also be completely vaccinated in Indonesia using certain vaccines recognized by the Saudi government, and of course we Indonesia, the Indonesian delegation, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, as well as the Ministry of Health, now are preparing how to mitigate the health issues for the pilgrims, for Indonesian pilgrims there. We should provide, for example, the hotels for 1,000 rooms for Indonesian pilgrims in case there are some outbreak for the Indonesian pilgrims by COVID-19 or some kind of other disease, and well, a lot of we call nakes,
Health frontline.
Medical workers,
the doctor, nurse, and for healthcare people would be involved for this upcoming Hajj.
Pak Hilman, it looks like the Indonesian government is doing everything they can to make sure that the Indonesian citizens who are eligible and will be able to fly get a smooth pilgrimage Hajj, as smooth as possible. And of course, our hopes also for all the future pilgrims in this year to have a safe one and return safely as well. Pak Hilman, thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us and for updating us in regards to the most recent updates to the pilgrimage quota that everybody is, of course, waiting to find out, to be announced. And we're so good to have you this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a big sense of clarification. Because
apparently lots of questions that we've been having, all these terms being answered, because I didn't know how they actually put some quotas in the regions and the provinces.
Yes, and also luckily whoever paid full in 2020 doesn't have to pay the remaining balance. We're going for a quick break.
That is right, but when we return, Dirza will bring you the latest from the world of business. So,
Sport.
Business, it's sports.
Sport.
Sorry for that.
Well, I've got a lot.
Sports.
Sports. You got to exercise after this.
Yes.
Well, I've got news from the NBA and tennis and also badminton, because Indonesia's mixed doubles pair Rino Rinaldi and Pita Haningtyas were off to a good start at the 2022 Badminton Asia Championship. That and more only when the 3-hour news show on C3 returns.